I mean, firstly, having knowledge of where you stand with SARS is quite important. There's a high chance that there might be a tax liability that you're not aware of, because obviously you have neglected the role of you submitting your tax returns on annual basis. Remember, you were filing previously before you left South Africa, and then SARS is used to the system that you'll be filing on yearly basis. You have not even notified them that you left, meaning in a way of ceasing your tax residency. So meaning there's a high chance that there are flag tax returns on your profile. So having to engage a specialist or a tax consultant to say, hey man, I'm worried about my tax matters. Can we maybe have a look to see where I actually stand with SARS? Is there anything flagged on my profile? What do I need to do going forward? So with the tax diagnostic report, it gives you also the recommendations of what steps need to be taken going forward to ensure that you are healthy in SARS perspective.
Every year starts the same for many of us. New goals, new plans, new energy. We promise ourselves to be more organized, more disciplined, and more in control of our circumstances. And that raises an important question. Do we all know where we stand with SARS? Good day, and welcome to yet another episode. I am Rendani, and today I'm joined by my esteemed colleague, Alex Mahundla, who's a SARS Compliance Specialist as well as a registered tax practitioner. And together, we will be unpacking why it is very important for you to understand your position with SARS as you start the new year, and why a tax diagnostic might be the financial assistance you never knew you needed. Welcome, Alex.
Thank you, Rendan, for the invite and for sitting with me today.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
Yeah.
And I think for a start,
Mm.
it is quite important for us to explain to the audience why it is important for taxpayers to take care of where they stand with SARS.
Peace of mind. And with SARS, we involve finances here. So being ahead of SARS is quite important, and it's just a better financial planning for the year as well. So you're being smart when you are being ahead of SARS.
No, thank you so much for your answer. Now,
Mm.
from my understanding is that there are tools that actually help and assist taxpayers to be in control
Yes.
and enable them to have that peace of mind.
Mm.
And I believe one of those tools is the tax diagnostic report.
Mm.
Now, tell us, Alex, what is a tax diagnostic report and what does it entail?
Okay, we do an overall compliance check on your SARS e-filing profile, meaning you do a thorough check, more of like an audit. But this audit doesn't only target your tax returns only. It's everything on e-filing, meaning that we check if your contact details are up to date. We check if your tax returns are historical ones in the case that are they correctly submitted, because there's a situation whereby you find that the taxpayer was abroad for a certain time, but they were not declaring their foreign earnings.
Oh,
Or rather, maybe they were declaring their foreign earnings, but they were declaring them incorrectly, which then sometimes result in a tax liability. So we check that historical check to ensure that everything was done smoothly. Can either be done by a taxpayer or you had someone submitting your tax returns and they were not doing them correctly. So with that thorough check, it gives you an upper hand and a better understanding of your tax situation. And we also do a CIPC check, and you'll ask, why is that important? For someone planning to move abroad or with the intention to remain abroad, you need to ensure that if you are linked to any directorships or companies, they are also up to date, because they can hinder or rather delay your process if you are planning to cease your tax residency.
that's a very profound answer.
Yes.
And I think you bring in a very interesting aspect into the conversation,
Yes.
and that is leaving and working abroad.
Mm.
So, are you saying, Alex, that if I am leaving and working abroad,
Mhm.
I still have tax relations with SARS, I still need to file my returns?
Yes.
Here is John,
Yeah.
who is in the United States,
Mm.
and for some years he's been living abroad
Mm.
and he hasn't filed his returns in a while.
Mm.
What are the benefits of conducting this tax diagnostic report? Of what importance will it bring forth to him? If you could explain that in that regard.
I mean, firstly, having knowledge of where you stand with SARS is quite important. There's a high chance that there might be a tax liability that you're not aware of, because obviously you have neglected the role of you submitting your tax returns on annual basis. Remember, you were filing previously before you left South Africa, and then SARS is used to the system that you'll be filing on yearly basis. You have not even notified them that you left, meaning in a way of ceasing your tax residency. So meaning there's a high chance that there are flagged tax returns on your profile. So having to engage a specialist or a tax consultant to say, hey man, I'm worried about my tax matters. Can we maybe have a look to see where I actually stand with SARS? Is there anything flagged on my profile? What do I need to do going forward? So with the tax diagnostic report, it gives you also the recommendations of what steps need to be taken going forward to ensure that you are healthy in SARS perspective.
No, that's a good one. And you see, you bring in the health check in your response, and
Yes.
and how they usually put it is
Mm.
that a health check provides you with guidance on how you are doing as a person in terms of your health, and also allows the doctor
Mm.
to give suggestions with
Yes.
regard to your circumstances.
Mm.
And we strongly believe that a tax diagnostic
Mm.
is one that allows a tax practitioner to give advice on your tax compliance.
Yes.
But maybe, Alex, there are critical things that we must point out to the listeners. And in our generation today, we categorize those as red flags.
Yes.
Maybe what are the key things that immediately when a taxpayer comes across, they should ensure that they conduct a tax diagnostic report or review?
One of the top things will then be if you get a notification from SARS or any alert that talk about your tax matters in South Africa, it's important that to have a look at that notification, or can either be via email, rather contact a professional if you don't have an understanding or rather not understanding the notification, to say, I received a notification from SARS indicating such. Then with the report, we do a thorough check. If maybe it was more of like a liability that SARS say you owe them money, we then have a thorough check to say, okay, let us have a look at this situation where the liability originates. How do we best provide findings and ensure that this is settled, or rather confirm if this was done correctly by SARS, because it can be in a way maybe there was an auto assessment. We then have a look at such situation, and maybe those are admin penalties. We then have a look to say, okay, man, they've flagged you for a certain year of assessment. You are not filing. Let's have a look at these tax returns and ensure that this is filed to avoid any further penalties, because they won't stop adding those penalties on your SARS profile until you then file your tax return.
No, thank you for that answer, Alex. And what I get is that it's best for one to be proactive
Yes.
than reactive.
Yes.
And the first step towards you being proactive is conducting your tax diagnostic, having a greater understanding of tax matters, as well as compliance check.
Yeah.
Now, as a final thought, we do understand that tax compliance isn't just about avoiding penalties. It's always having mechanisms that help you manage your taxes smartly or in a way that best upholds your compliance as a taxpayer. Now, what final advice could you give our listeners with regard to the reason and purpose of a tax diagnostic?
In my experience with the clients that I've been engaging, I've come to notice that their contact details are not always up to date. This is being that maybe the taxpayer left maybe 5 years ago. Their email is outdated. Maybe it's the email address that they've been using when they were still in varsity, meaning they're not getting any notifications from SARS. So you're missing out on an opportunity to be compliant because you're not even sure where you actually stand with SARS, because you're missing out on communication from SARS. And the second thing is to ensure that should you then require to be file your tax return, you are doing it in a correct tax residence. Remember, is either you file as a tax resident of South Africa or non-tax resident. And this then applies to our expats who are living abroad or on permanent basis, or someone who's here locally.
No, thank you so much, Alex, for the very insightful conversation. And to our audience, I hope this was a good watch. And thank you for reaching the end with us. Please do engage through comments. Do leave your questions. Or if there's anything that you would want us to expand more, please do let us know. And we will ensure to come back again to your screens with further discussions. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.